Hello and welcome to the Sidekick podcast with me, Tank. Our podcast enables sport martial artists from all over the world to get to know some of the top athletes in our sport from both the past and the present. We aim to bring their martial arts journey to light and find out what makes them so prominent in our sport, what inspires them, and what training regimes they go through leading up to big tournaments. As always, if you enjoy our podcast, then let us know through one of our social media pages. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you're listening on YouTube, hit the notifications bell and you'll get notified every time we drop a podcast.
In the second episode of our international series, we speak with Robbie Lavoie. Robbie is a multi-world champion in both fighting and kata. He's recognised as one of the best fighters to grace the mats over the past 20 years and is also an original member of the famous AllStar team. We're proud to bring to you, from Canada, Robbie Lavoie.
Robbie, welcome to the Sidekick podcast. You're our second guest in our international series. We had Avery Plowden on our last one, so he was pretty interesting to talk to, so no pressure. No, mate, thanks for taking the time out of your day to speak with us. Robbie, I appreciate it. I know you're in the school teaching classes and whatever else.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Anytime. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so Robbie, how did you first get started in martial arts?
Oh, man. It was a long time ago. So I was about 5 years old. So I've been doing it for about 29 years now. I was just a huge fan of the Ninja Turtles when I was a little kid, and I wanted to be a Ninja Turtle. So I just kept asking my parents, my mom and my dad, to take me to karate lessons. And I joined my first class, and I fell in love with it and never really kind of looked back from there on. So I just kept at it since I was a little kid. So yeah, the Ninja Turtles is kind of what got me started.
And did you start in the specific type of martial arts you're in now?
Yeah, so I've been with the same school since I've been 5 years old. Started with training at Dubras Martial Arts with Peter Dubras and John Dubras, and they gave me a start when I was a kid, and just continued there on from then until now.
Awesome. Was it long before you started to compete?
I started competing. I did a couple tournaments when I was kind of like an intermediate belt and stuff like that, but I wasn't that big into tournaments. And then I was about 9 years old. I got my black belt when I was 9 years old, and I tried out in 1995 for my first the Canadian national team to go to the WK World Championships. And I didn't make it my first year, and then that kind of lit a fire under my butt. And then from there on, after that, I think I got third or fourth place, and I didn't make the team. So after that, it kind of motivated me, and I just started competing right after that a whole bunch. And then, one thing led to another after that. I just fell in love with competing.
Yeah. So did you qualify WKA in 1996 then, did you?
I did qualify in 1996.
That will have been the Czech Republic, won't it?
It was Czech Republic. Yeah, I ended up, I lost in sparring, but I won a world title in open forms and stuff like that in 96. Not a lot of people would know that and remember that, but I won a world title in open forms the following year.
Well, that was my next question about forms, because when I spoke to Avery, he actually started his tournament scene as a forms competitor, and speaking about how important forms are to competing, he said they're not really important to competing, but they're part of his martial arts, so he still practices them and he will still teach them. Is that the same for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I probably teach forms more of a sport. Forms are a huge part of the curriculum that I teach here. For me, they always developed a good muscle memory, good strong basics, good strong foundations, and I still practice forms from time to time myself. I still teach a lot of forms, and they're a huge foundation in martial arts for me, and I think they're just huge in general. They create a good foundation, they create good habits, they create discipline and stuff as well too. So I think they're a huge part of it.
When you actually started competing in sparring, how long was it before you started getting some wins under your belt?
It probably took me a couple of years. I did pretty good as a junior. I think the following year in 97 at the WK World Championships, I made it to the finals. I lost to Robbie Hughes in the finals. It was a really good fight. So it took me a couple of years afterwards, and then probably when I was about 12 or 13, that's when I started to kind of take off and started getting some good wins under my belt in sparring and stuff. So it took me about 3-4 years until I started having more success in sparring and stuff like that. But once I did, it became addictive, man. I just, one thing kind of led to another. It just gave me more and more motivation. Once I won that first time, I just wanted to keep on winning, and it just made me work harder from there on out.
So when you go into these tournaments, were there any fighters you were looking up to? Any fights you were looking to emulate?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I really looked up to, like as a teenager, I really looked up to Johnny Tenshin and Raymond Daniels and Jason Borelli and stuff like that. Those are the three main guys that I really looked up to as a junior, and they helped me a lot too. I've known them forever. And then they eventually became my teammates after a while and stuff as well. So I always looked up to them as a kid, and I still look up to them now and stuff too. I talk to Raymond on a daily basis. I lived in California for about 4.5 years, so he was one of my main training partners. Worked out a lot, and it kind of like mentored me. And Johnny Tenshin helped me a lot as well too. I still talk to him, talk to Jason every now and then. But those three guys were huge. Same with Dominic and Fortunato Aversa. They helped me a lot because they were at the same school as I was in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. They're diverse martial arts students as well, and they have their own school now. Those two, when I was about 15, 16, kind of took me under their wing and trained with me all the time, and just taught me kind of the ropes on like what it would take to kind of have success in like my future if I wanted to create a good path and a successful path in future in martial arts and sparring and stuff like that. They took me under their wing, and helped me become the fighter I am today.
So when you went to your first World Championships in 1996, how big a scale was it compared to some of the tournaments that you were doing back at home?
It was a big scale. We're lucky enough in Canada that we've have big competitions, and especially in America, they've always had the NASCA circuit, and NBL circuit back then was really big as well. It's not so much that big anymore, but NASCA was always available to me as a junior and stuff too. So there was always some great competition like around here, and it's not that far from America, so we always had some really big competitions. But the style of fighting was a lot different, don't get me wrong, because in America, like back then, it was 2-point body kicks and 5 points to win, right? So it was like some matches were only like 15, 20 seconds long. Like if it really came down to it, it was like 2 kicks and a punch and the match would be over. But so it was different. It was a cool experience, and it was just more the atmosphere. Like country against country was the thing that was really addictive as well too. So it was similar but different at the same time. It's kind of hard to explain, just the different rule sets. But there's always been a lot of good fighters in my area and like Canada, and then in America as well. So I always had a lot of good competition growing up, and to this day as well.
What year did you win your first world title?
My first world title in sparring, I think it was 98 or 99.
Yeah. Do you remember much of the tournament?
No, I was like 12 years old. No, I wish I did, man. So that was when I won my first one, and then it was fun, and I won a couple of NASCAR world titles back then as well, in about 98, 99 kind of time frame. And so that was a long time ago, man. It was a long time ago.
When you're winning these world titles, are you thinking to yourself that this is something that you want to do for the rest of your life, or are you still taking it as a sport that you're doing alongside other sports?
I've always kind of wanted to. I fell in love with it at a young age, and like the competing thing's one part. It's more of a lifestyle for me, man. Like competing is fun, and it's just like I know I'm not going to do it forever, right? Like it's just I'm 34 now. I might have a couple years left. Who knows? I will train for the rest of my life as long as I'm capable of doing. I will always teach, and just the tournament aspect. It's not so much the winning that got to me. It was more of like challenging myself, always trying to better myself. And yeah, it wasn't so much the winning. Don't get me wrong, the winning was a nice reward at the end of the day, but I liked challenging myself, and I still like challenging myself. I think it was more about that and see what I can do on a daily basis to make myself better, more than just the reward at the end. The reward's nice, but it was more like the work and seeing what I was actually capable of doing myself, rather than actually winning at the end of the day.
Okay, so you've won your first couple of world titles, your NASCAR world titles and your WKA. How do you compare the NASCAR scene to the WKA at the time? Because I know they were both massive.
Yeah, they were huge. It's hard to compare both, man. Like, I really like the old school WKA, especially in the 90s and the early 2000s, man. Yeah. They were great, man. There was fighters from absolutely everywhere. Everybody was so talented, and yeah, it was different because it was country against country, man. And like the atmosphere in that room, in that hall and stuff like that, in that venue, was absolutely insane. And then NASCAR tournaments were super popular, right? That's where like people started getting picked up and like getting like sponsored to go to tournaments and different teams. So it was different avenues and different paths. But the old WKs with the atmosphere, the international stuff was really cool. And then the atmosphere at NASCAR tournaments were really cool too. It just didn't have like all the international competitors that the WK had. So it was different, but the atmosphere in both were absolutely, they were pretty crazy back in the day, man.
Yeah, they were. So you're speaking about people getting sponsored. I know you're on a sponsored team now. You have been for a while. When did that come about, that you're getting sponsored to go places?
I think the first time that that I got picked up on a national team, it was Team Straight Up, and I was about 13 or so years old. I was 13, and they helped me out a little bit, and which I was super grateful for, because they gave me a start, and it was super nice. I got to travel to tournaments and do what I love to do, and got some help doing it and stuff like that too. So it was awesome, and I was part of that team for about 7 years or so, and then the AllStars came about, and I joined the AllStars and stuff like that. So I think it started when I was about 13, 14 years old.
What was the driving factor to leave Straight Up after being there for so long to join the AllStars?
It was just like different paths. Like Straight Up kind of wanted to stay more North American kind of thing. AllStars wanted to do and it was like I was one of the original AllStar members, along with Jason Tankson, Raymond Daniels, Johnny Tankson, and Jack Felton. We were like the original 5, and that team was insane. And like I really wanted to be teammates and kind of be with those guys as well too, right? So just being with those fighters, it helped me grow as a competitor and as a person. So that was a hard decision, because I love Straight Up. I still have a great relationship with Joe Greenhog, the manager and the owner of Team Straight Up. We still have a fantastic relationship. He helped me out a lot, and I still talk to him all the time. I love the guy. And it was just the opportunity to do different things and to be surrounded by those competitors. It was a blessing, you know. So I had to take that opportunity, especially being a 19-year-old and 20-year-old, and wanting to have a successful future. You got to kind of surround yourself with those like-minded individuals, right? And I got to learn from them all the time. So that was one of the reasons why.
Is that when you started traveling away to tournaments with the team rather than with the national team?
So I started traveling a lot when I was 14, right, on the NASCAR circuit with Team Straight Up and stuff like that. I did my first Irish Open in 2003, 2004 with Straight Up. So I got to do some traveling with Straight Up and stuff as well. It was just mostly North American, but we would go to Irish Open and stuff like that. I think that was my first Irish Open, was in 2003 or 2004. And Yeah, and then the AllStars, and we did more European tournaments like the Waco circuit, kind of like the Athens Challenge, Flanders, Best Fighter, and those kind of events and stuff like that. So it was just a little bit different of a different path, but yeah, it was fun, man. I enjoyed it a lot.
Okay, so if we can just fast forward to 2007 when you won your Waco World Championships. It was in Coimbra in Portugal.
Yeah, in Portugal. Yeah.
How did that come about? Was that again through the AllStars?
No, so I fought for Canada. So I did my first Waco World Championships in 2002 in Paris.
Yeah.
I think 2003 in Paris. 2003 in Paris, because it's every 2 years. It was 2003. I went with Fortunato and Dominica Versa, and I was about 16 at the time, and I got asked to go, and I was like, yeah, sure. I fought minus 57. I ended up getting a bronze medal, and I wasn't satisfied. I was pissed, and I'm a competitive person. And then some things, some family stuff. I was gonna go in 2005, and to win that, but some family issues came up, and I couldn't travel at that time of the year in 2005. So in 2007 came along, I'm like, this is something that I want to do. I want to kind of avenge myself from when I was a kid, because I was like 21 at the time now. So I wanted to make that right or wrong, or make that wrong or right, and just get that title under my belt. I ended up winning and doing really well. So and actually that's the last Waco World Championships I've competed at too. I've never gone back, and so I'm not saying like I wanted to go back a few times, but things happen. Some injuries have happened like right before the Waco World Championship, so I've had to pull out. But so like 2009, I busted my knee. I had knee surgery before the Waco World Championships. Then 2015, got an injury at the WKC World Championships before I went to the Waco World Championships in 2015. So it's just been kind of like bad luck, and then just just never got to go to another Waco World Championships in 2007 actually.
I know Waco and WKA or WKA is KC are different. Do you have to adapt your fighting style if you go to Waco's to what you do to a WKA or WKC?
No, not really, man. Not really at all. Like, I just believe if you're a good fighter, you should be able to fight with any kind of rule set. You know what I mean? It's just like, if you have the ability to win at one event, you should be able to. If you're really a top tier fighter, you should be able to adapt on the spot and just fight. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. A lot of people are like, I got to switch this, I got to switch that. In reality, I don't think so, man. Like, if you're a good fighter, if you're an elite fighter, you should be able to adapt no matter what the rule set is, right? Like, I just feel like I got to be more aware of a couple things, like the front hand to the body and stuff like that. Because in like NASCAR and like North America, that's an illegal technique. So just got to be more aware of that. Now, I'll throw it myself, like, you know what I mean? Like, even the playing field, even the Aussie, I'll throw it myself. But besides that, man, nothing really.
Yeah.
Just no difference for me, man.
Okay, so you fight in a lot of open weights and been very successful in them. But how do you adapt to fighting the taller or heavier fighters?
Honestly, it's just like, a lot of people ask me that. I'm just adapting to like different like heights and body types. It's just when somebody is taller, like how I look at it, they need more space to operate, right? They need more space to be able to throw their kicks, to throw their punches. So anytime somebody is a little bit bigger than me, I take their space away. I crowd them, and I use my speed and my footwork to just kind of force them into making mistakes, making them uncomfortable, because as soon as somebody is a little bit bigger, they expect people to create space for them, right? So I take their space away, and they get frustrated, start getting their nervous energy, throwing things that they're not necessarily ready to throw because of that nervous energy, and they're not used to somebody kind of always kind of crowding them and stuff like that. So that's one of the biggest things I change, is just changing my distance up with them is the biggest thing that I would say.
What would you rather, or what do you prefer? Do you prefer fighting with your all-star team, or do you prefer fighting with your national squad?
That's a tough question. I really like fighting with my all-star team, man, just because we do it so often, right? Like,
yeah,
it's just like there's like the national squad, like our men's team that we've had for years. We kind of have the same men's squad for a while. For the WKC team, like a couple of the guys on the team are like family, right? But we only fight together once a year. With the all-stars, we fight together like once a month, once every other month. So it's just a different kind of relationship, different kind of feeling, a little bit different kind of chemistry, because of just the amount that we have been able to fight together and stuff. So I truly enjoy both. I love fighting with both. But yeah, just different things. Like I'm so used to fighting with my all-star team. Like it's like cake, and we don't really have to like say, oh, we're fighting now, we're fighting here. And when with the WKC team and stuff like that, we have to kind of like choose matchups and just kind of like try to adjust to each other, because every year or so we have a couple new fighters on that team, right? With the all-stars, it's been the same guys forever, you know?
Yeah.
So we don't have to make those adjustments. We just kind of fly off each other. I love fighting with both. It's just I'm more comfortable fighting with my all-star team rather than the national team, just because we've been doing it together for so long, and just the sheer amount of times we've competed together.
Is there a tournament that you look forward to then, going to with the all-stars?
Whenever tournaments get back, man, who knows when that'll be, but I know Irish Open, it was always just one of our favorite tournaments together as a team. But they canceled it for 2021 in Dublin, right? So hopefully my body holds up and be able to do that again with them in 2022, right? So we'll see where the world takes me, see where the world is in 2022, and hopefully by the end of 2021, hopefully we get to go to some competitions together, go to like even the WKC team, hopefully going to the World Championships in Orlando at the end of 2021. I just want to get at this point. I just want to get back out there and compete, man.
yeah, don't we all, mate?
Yeah, for sure, man.
How important are the team events to you when you're away?
Like team events,
as a team, obviously you'll do your individual event.
Yeah.
But how important is the actual team event to you?
Oh, the team event's amazing too, man. It's just like, obviously I want to be the best fighter at the tournament as well, but it's always nice. And it's kind of like I know when we go as a team, you got a target on your back regardless, right? So winning a team event, super important too. I love winning the team event. That's like kind of sets the tone, because like, especially NASCAR tournaments and stuff like that. And even at like Irish Open and WACO tournaments, the team event is the first event to the weekend, right? So I feel like the team event and whatnot kind of sets the tone. All the individuals. Yeah, sets the tone for all the individual stuff for the weekend. So it's super important, because it usually is the first event, and it kind of sets the tone for the weekend.
So when you're about to fight, Robbie, you have your headphones on. I presume you're listening to music. You're always very hyped. You're bouncing around. Yeah. Is there a certain sequence or superstition that you go through?
Superstition. Man, I got a little bit of OCD, but just certain ways how I put on my gear and stuff like that. I always put in a certain order. I put on my belt in a certain way. It's got to be perfectly straight. I wear the same kind of clothes to the tournament that I do at every single tournament, same outfit, and just same hoodie that I'll wear for the whole year kind of thing, for the day of the tournament. Just little things like that, certain songs I'll listen to, or certain like kind of like motivational things I'll listen to, like leading up to when I compete, and just certain things I say to myself as well too. Just I don't know if that's superstition or it's just kind of like habit after all these years, but just little things like that.
Okay, so you are the Canadian poster boy, and I think it's certainly on the WKC, and we have Ian Hollett as our poster boy, and I've watched so many absolute battles between yourselves. So where do you rank Ian amongst the competitors you face in tournaments over in the USA or Canada?
Ian's one of my toughest competitors. Just like, especially stylistic matchup too. We have contrast. He's super contrasting styles. He's super intelligent in the ring. He carries himself well. He's got to be up there by far, and like one of the toughest competitors, especially in my weight class. Like, in my weight class, is just like he's been the only person to beat me. He's beat me twice in the last like 10 years in my weight class, and not a lot of people have been able to do that, right? So he's got to be up there in the top 2 in my weight class over the last, like, him and Richie Vera's got to be the top 2 in my weight class. So in the last like 10, 15 years that actually beat me more than at like two times, you know what I mean? So those are the only really 2 in my weight that have beat me more than once in the last 10, 12 years. So he's been between him and Richie 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so over in North America, you have some awesome tournaments like the US Open, you've got the Warrior Cup, Diamond Nationals, etc. And then over in Europe, we have like the Irish Open, which is our biggest and best, and it's got such a massive cult following.
Yeah.
I know you've had success there, but how does the Irish Open compare to the North American tournament scene?
The Irish Open is just like the sheer number of athletes and competitors there is just like, it's so overwhelming just because of how many people are there. It's crazy. Like, there's like over 3,000 competitors, you know, and and it's predominantly fighting, right? Like, US Open is monstrous in North America, but you got to think there's a lot of underbelts and a lot of forms competitors as well. When the Irish Open, there's, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred forms competitors, and it's not like 50-50 split, right? It's just the sheer number of competitors and fighters at the Irish Open is crazy, man. So I always look forward to it because I know I'm going to be fighting a whole bunch in those 3 days, man.
Yeah. Okay, so over lockdown, we spoke a little bit before the podcast started about how we've been locked down, but I know over lockdown you have still been training, obviously in your own karate gym, karate school. But have you combated doing like pad work or keeping your timing?
Yeah, so I've been lucky enough to have a couple like people here. Like, if we've had bubbles, right, we're allowed to be in like certain like person bubbles. So I've been able to like spar and do pad work and stuff like that with a couple people here, which has been fantastic. You know, I've been able to keep my timing, keep my sparring and stuff like that, and the bubble, like the lockdown's been okay because it's been good for my body. You know, I don't have to worry about competing every couple months, you know. So I do miss competing. Like, I competed in Atlanta at a pro point event. It was the first time I competed in about a year, and I don't remember the last time I went that long without competing. So I was super rusty, but I've been lucky enough to have a couple of sparring partners and a couple of training partners. So I can't complain because a lot of people aren't in that same boat, right? They haven't been able to do pad work or partner work or have sparring partners, but I've been grateful to have some sparring partners and training partners and stuff like that through lockdown.
Yeah. You mentioned the Pro Point tournament you fought in. Was that the virtual fight tour?
There's a couple different ones. There's a Pro Point one that is based out of like Atlanta and like Georgia. Yeah. And then the virtual tour is most based out of New York kind of stuff. So a little bit different like organizations kind of thing. So I was supposed to fight next week or this weekend, this Saturday on the virtual fight tour, but I have a little bit of an injury right now, so I had to pull out. But hopefully in the new year I get to be part of the virtual. I'll be part of the virtual tour, and I'm looking forward to the end of March as well. So I'll be back on one of the Pro Point cards in March as well too. So.
Oh, excellent. I know we've spoke about virtual fight tours and Pro Points. So just staying on the subject, you've been doing virtual seminars.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, they've been and especially when the first lockdown started, we're doing like our whole karate school was virtual, right? Yeah. So like teaching over Zoom, over Skype, teaching lessons and stuff, and virtual seminars and stuff. So it's a transition phase. It was a little bit different at first, but once you got used to it, it became a lot easier and stuff like that. It's still challenging and doesn't have the same like feel as teaching in person, but so what comes with the territory of having kind of being in a pandemic these days, right? So teaching the virtual stuff, it's been fun, and it keeps you connected with the people that you would normally see in person and stuff as well too, which has been cool.
Okay, so I think me and you both now are at an age where normally competitors would be calling it a day.
Yeah.
As far as competing goes anyway. Are your plans to just keep going until you decide that your body can't take it anymore, or is it going to be a mental decision where you're
gonna... It'll be a mental decision, man. I don't want to go until my body doesn't want to do it anymore, just because I don't want to kind of tarnish my legacy. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a thing. Like, I don't want to go out there and compete to like kind of like a shell of my former self. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to still compete at a high level and still have success. And I don't want to go past that. If I start not having the success that I'm used to having, then I'm gonna call it a day. You know what I mean? Because at times, even now, like, it's like sometimes I don't have the motivation to always do the things that I used to do. You know what I mean? Sometimes instead of going traveling every weekend, I want to be at home now. I want to hang out. I want to chill. I want to relax. I don't feel like waking up at for a couple months at 6 a.m. and running at 6 a.m. all the time anymore. Like, the motivation's still there for now, but I feel at times the motivation kind of goes up and down in waves and stuff like that, right? Like, I don't feel like there's a couple things I still want to accomplish in the sport. So hopefully things get back to normal, and I still have that motivation to try to accomplish those last couple of things I want to accomplish in my fighting career and stuff like that. But I want to finish more mentally than rather physically, for sure.
I know you've won so much in your martial arts career. Do you keep track of what you've won?
A little bit here and there. Like, I can't tell you how many world titles I've won. I don't count that stuff. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not a big deal to me, man. It's just like, like I said earlier, it's about the preparation and just the challenging of myself, right? Like, I don't count the world titles that I've won. I'm like, I can't count the tournaments. I know I've had a lot of success, and like that's all that matters, is as long as I'm happy with what I've been able to do and with my fighting, and that's all that really matters. Like, I've won a lot of tournaments. I've done well at tournaments, but I can't really name everything that I've really done and stuff like that. I don't really keep track of it.
Right, okay. I think we've managed to cover everything there, Robbie, which unfortunately means we've come to an end.
Man.
Listen, thanks very much for taking the time to join us. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, brother. My pleasure. Anytime, man.